something that will definitely hold us back is being so consumed with somebody else's motives, responses, and condition that we're not able to focus on our own. And it's that sort of thing that the Bible talks about, right? Like, remove the log from your own eye before you remove the stick from your friends. And sometimes I feel that it is such a deflective thing to look at somebody else and be like, look at what they're doing, and judge them. And I think a good example for this might be even social media. When we see certain content creators on whatever app there is, TikTok, let's say, and people comment, how can you go on here and post this, or your house is so ugly, or this recipe is so disgusting, and just hurtful things when people are genuinely trying to share portions of their life or to do well in their life. You know, it might even look like somebody raising a child, and someone that might not necessarily have done a good job at raising their children, or who doesn't have children, judging that person for how they're doing it, because there's some sense inside of them of inadequacy, so they feel that need to project and worry about somebody else. Even this sense of self-righteousness that gives us this feeling of needing to project and correct somebody else, and to remove that stick and not focus on our log. And it almost gives us a form of procrastination, and not facing our own monsters, and not facing our own giants, and worrying about what somebody else has going on, and judging what they have going on. Because when we're really content with ourselves, when we're really at peace with ourselves, the judgment for others begins to minimize, because we see that people are doing that for some reason that may be unknown to me, but you begin to realize that there's nuance in life, and begin to become more rational, and see that everybody is trying to survive and thrive and live in their own way that they know how. And when we judge minuscule things of how somebody looks, or how somebody operates in their world that's not necessarily harmful to them or anyone else, when we begin to judge those things, it really creates a huge issue of strife in our life. And we begin to become frustrated, this level of frustration that is uncontainable. And it even begins in, even a book talks about this, is, I believe, The Divine Woman. I forget what it is called, but there's a book that talks about constantly trying to manage your husband, right? Constantly trying to make sure that he is operating in the realm of what he said, and agreed to operate by, what he told you, the vows that he committed to you. And you're constantly trying to manage that. And anything that becomes out of order inside of those vows becomes such a huge issue, because you want to micromanage, you want to control, you want to make sure that they're following the guidelines, and you judge and try to constantly remove that stick, when by you doing that, by default, you're not honoring your vows of allowing them to guide and lead and figure things out. Even if it takes some time, you're constantly interrupting that process and that flow to try to remove that stick when you have your log. So I guess all of this to say is that sometimes when we judge others, we're not really focusing on our own inadequacies, and it gives us a hall pass to not do so. Judging others is a cop-out of understanding and laying out our own lives, because we don't have to do anything. We don't have to take responsibility. We're operating in the mundane, monotonous routine of life, which may be waking up and going to work and coming home and doing the bare minimum, but saying that that's enough because that's all I can do, and how dare they step outside of that routine that I have created for myself. And even if you like to thrive, even if you like to overachieve, and someone may not be on that particular path of thriving and overachieving, and it may frustrate you, you being frustrated by somebody else's operation, if it's not hurting anyone, if it's not hurting themselves, and you constantly being frustrated by their own operation, how dare they go out and be artistic and create art, because that doesn't make any money. Why would they do that? This mass amount of frustration and projection on other people, trying to remove that stick and not focusing on our log. Judgment for others can come from a not good place, can come from a place of not having peace, of being disturbed, and not really being fulfilled in our life. And wanting to have so much control over others, wanting to be right, wanting to be the voice of reason and of agreeability. Like, I am the one that you should agree with. I am the one that you should abide by because the way that I do things works. Well, that way may not be for everyone. That way might not be productive for everyone. Not everybody is meant to be a public speaker and an entrepreneur and a business owner and all of the things that you enjoy doing, and being frustrated with someone's lack of progress because they're not operating in the way that you do just creates bigger issues for them, for yourself, and creates a bigger divide in the relationship. I think the point of all of this is to realize that different people operate differently, and that is totally okay. Some people take time to come to conclusions. Some people take time to figure things out. And us trying to push and be aggressive and be mean and judge that process is not productive. A much more productive process to help somebody is kindness, listening, understanding, and letting that sit there. Asking questions to understand and not to judge, not making your remarks on certain things, really allowing them a space to be honest. Because when we are aggressive and mean, sometimes that doesn't always translate well and people shut down. And we may be wanting to drag people and pull people along, but really people just need to be heard where they're at a lot of the time. And when they are heard where they are at, we have a better chance of reaching them. So when you see somebody that is doing something outside of your usual, don't rush to judge. There's a lot of reasons for doing a lot of things, and we're all ultimately trying to survive at the end of the day. So if you really want to help somebody, be that peace, be that kindness, emulate those fruits of the Spirit so that people can find rest and comfort in sharing with you if they really do need change. And that looks like relationships with your husband, relationships with your friends, relationships with your family. Having a space where people can share and you can be curious, and maybe that continues a relationship of maybe pointing out a little bit of the inconsistencies and diving a little deeper and them trusting you a little more, but just immediately jumping in and judging. Most of the time we do not understand why someone is making that choice, and we'll be better off either leaving people be and letting them post their things, or post their recipes and be have their artistic vision if they're not asking us to fund their life and help. We'd be better off letting people figure things out rather than aggressively trying to fix everyone around us. So remember to remove the log in your own eye before you try to remove the stick from someone else's.